Hi, this is a special treat on Paperweight Investigate. You're going to hear an interview that I did with Gordon Taylor, who worked for Perthshire Paperweights, and he's got a vast amount of experience and he's got a lot to say. But we were a bit limited with time, so we just chatted for about 20 minutes. And I'm sure that you're going to find this really interesting. What I'm going to do is put up some photos on the screen as well, so you're going to see some of his work, and you're going to be able to really, hopefully, see and appreciate the skill that Gordon's developed over the years. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. There's going to be more interviews to come, and there are already other videos on this YouTube channel that you may enjoy. So here we go, this is the interview. Welcome to Paperweight Investigate. This is Dawn, and we're going to have a brilliant interview today with Gordon Taylor, who has done lots of work in the paperweight world, and he's going to tell us about it. So hello Gordon.
Hello there, how are you?
Okay, it's good. We're here sitting in the sunshine, and we're having a nice little chat. So, yeah, I've just heard you do a little bit of a talk about your sort of experience with paperweights and where you started. So just tell us a bit about how you started and a little bit about your background.
Well, I started in January the 8th, 1979. Left school, wasn't many jobs in the area, but some of my friends were working in the local glassworks, Perthshire Paperweights. Went for an interview, and I got the job, and that was in the November, and they wouldn't let me leave school, the authorities, so luckily they kept the job open until the January of 79, and that's where it all started. 1979, I was in the hothouse first, and then a chap was coming in to be an apprentice cutter, and he was too small for the machines, and they asked me if I would want to be an apprentice cutter, and I thought, okay, is it still an apprenticeship? And they went, yes, still 5 years, and it's a lot cooler in the hothouse, so it was quite good. And that's how it all started, really. Yeah.
That's great. So, who were you working with? People who we know?
Well, Peter McDougall was the manager. His brother Callum was an apprentice with me. He was in the hothouse. There was another brother, Barry. He was the foreman or the supervisor of the cutting shop, but it was Anton Moravec that was in charge, and he was a brilliant guy. In one of my talks in the past, it was really quite weird when you look at the age of the employees. The average age was about 19. Because we had all left school, they were expanding slightly, and there was only, as far as my mind serves me, there was about 4, maybe 5 older gents, and basically we were kids, and there was a lot of larking about, but it must have been tough for the management to look after us, because I was 16, Callum was 17, and a lot of the guys, they were barely 19, and it was quite a wild, tough place, but it was fun. It was like everything was brand new to us. We were all learning, and we're sort of competing against, I can do this, no, I can do that. It was good, and I would do it again. I would do it again, because I think back on these days, maybe with rose-tinted specs a wee bit, but yeah, it was lovely.
So who was doing the actual design of the art glass? Mr. Drysdale owned the company. He says on videos that there was not actually one designer, and he was right to a certain extent. As time went on and you became more experienced, like you had the girls, they were making the patterns in the Millefiori up, and it used to be, if a mind serves me right, end of July, start of August was design time, and that was quite an exciting time, because you were preparing stuff for the next year. You think, oh, this will look good, that'll look good, and once they'd done that, it would come to us, and either we'd be told what facets had to be onto it, or they would say design a cut, and you design a cut, and you would hope it would be your cut that was chosen. And the first cut that I remember, after being a tradesman for a few years, and I designed, it was the broom weight. Right.
And I designed the cut of that, and that was the one that was chosen, and I was so chuffed. And as I say, it becomes an obsession. But that time of the year was brilliant. So in answer to your question, it was mostly everybody had an input. Obviously the management had the last say, but we all had the input of designing throughout the years, from the lamp workers right through to the cutters. We were all involved together. It was good. It was the only time, I would say, we had sort of artistic freedom. The rest of the time we didn't have it. You know, that was the thing. Where now, when I'm doing stuff now, I do. And if you give someone artistic freedom, you will get the best out of them. Because they are striving to, whatever's in their mind, they're trying to get on the glass. And when you see that starting to appear, it's such a, it's better than any drug. You know, not I've taken drugs, never taken drugs, which I haven't. But yeah.
So I have 2 overlay Perthshire Paperweights at home that are like, you know, they have like a curved line. I think you showed us a picture of those. Like a little flower inside and a curve. So it's that sort of weight that you would have been doing. You'd have been creating those.
So is it a cutting outside or is it a curve inside?
The actual overlay part, there's curves.
Yes, that's what I would do. At Perthshire, the cutters weren't allowed to sign anything. The only cutter that ever signed anything was Anton Borovic. And I've seen some of his weights, and it's usually etched on with a diamond pen, not even a power-driven pen, just an etch.
Oh, how did he do that then? Was he allowed to do that, or did he just do it?
He was a director of the company.
Right. Okay.
But now, John allows me to sign all of the pieces of cut. I've done some for Alan Scott. I've been able to put my initials on them as well. Because the cutters, we were overlooked because the weight was fixed, the weight was made, and then it came to us, and we were overlooked at the end. But we used to say, well, you can make an overlay, but you can't sell it without a cutter cutting or doing a design on it. And nowadays we're recognised, and it's great, because I felt all my working life you were striving to be recognised, and you were never recognised.
So how long were you there at Perthshire?
From 1979, bar 3 years, till 2002 when it closed.
Right. And then what else did you do after that?
Well, it's strange. I took ill halfway through my service at Perthshire, and I had to leave for a couple of years. And I needed a job, so I ended up working in the hospitals. And I started off as a porter, but it was only a fixed term. So I'm not a lazy guy, I like doing stuff. So I then went on, I got a job in the pharmacy. From the pharmacy I did sterilisation of instruments. From that I got into theatre.
Oh, right.
And from that it got me into the job I'm doing now. In that line of work, I now work with mental health. But it was quite a journey as well. But then the Glassworks asked me back, and that was my calling, because even at the hospital, and I've just remembered this, remember on my breaks I'd have a notepad and I was busy drawing designs. Although I wasn't cutting for anybody, it was still in my blood, and I was drawing designs for things that I've used now.
So what I'll do is I'll put on the screen of the video some photographs of some of the work that you've done, because you've shown us some, like, of the gingham, for instance, and they're really, really intricate, and they're really, really impressive.
Oh, thank you.
They are, and when you hold them in your hand, which I have today, I'm like, wow, this is amazing. And you showed me one that I held in my hand today, and then you said it was one of the first ones you'd ever done, and you didn't think it was that good. You know, so like I'll show people some pictures, and then we can see, you know, some of your work, because it is amazing.
Oh, thank you.
And I didn't know you were able to sign them now. So tell me what things you're doing now then. What is it exactly that you're doing?
What, in glass wise?
Yeah.
Well, I'm still doing a lot of cutting for John, but I'm doing a lot of restoration work on antique pieces. Now, I was shown by Tony how to do that, but it's very time consuming. So I'm working on baccaras, cliches. I've forgotten other names. There's loads of St. Louis. But a lot of time people will send me a weight saying, oh, it's just scratched, it's just needing a polish. But what they don't realise is under that scratch and polish there'll be a bruise. or what I call an invisible bruise. You don't see it until you break the surface of the glass. You've got a little horseshoe. That little horseshoe goes in like a pebble in a pool. It's the only way I can describe it. It radiates out. So you've got to work down and try and get that out. So I do that a lot, and not only paperweights, I restore other types of glass as well, vases. I actually stored a glass clock. It was a Lelite clock. So the glass clock, its finial was damaged, and I managed to grind that back. But one of my best repairs ever, and I was so proud of this one, was an antique dealer from Perth came to me, and he'd got out of a castle to the lake, not so fashionable now, ashtrays, and they had, the smoked bit was the lion. It was a male lion with a mane, and one of the mane on one of them was damaged. It had been chipped, and he says, "Can you repair that?" I went, "Well, I'll have a look at it." So he gave me both of them, and I looked, and you couldn't touch it with a wheel. So this is where now, with years of knowledge that I've collected, it's really weird how thoughts come into your head. And the way I fixed it was I hand carved it with carborundum sticks.
Wow.
So I managed to carve...
What's one of those sticks?
We use it for dressing wheels. It's carborundum, it's hard carborundum. You get different grades. You use it for, well, dressing a stone wheel.
Okay.
And it smooths it off. But if you rub it on a bit of glass, it like scratches it. So what I did was I gently went up this mane and I closed the chip in, and then I used a finder grade carborundum stick, and basically I hand carved the mane in, and when it was done you couldn't tell the difference. And I was so proud of that, and I think the guys, he's kept them as bookends. But that was one of my best repairs I done. I was so proud of that one because I didn't know. So I reckon you can diverse into different things. Yeah.
It must be good to have that where people will bring you lots of different things,
Yeah.
so it's not boring. It's never the same thing, is it?
It's never boring. Sometimes you go, the only thing I don't restore, I never will, I did it once, is Victorian dumps. They are a nightmare. They're as hard as nail, made in bottle factories, and they actually damage your wheels when you stand. I did it for one chap, and I vowed I'd never do it again, because it's just so time consuming, and it would take hours and hours and hours and hours. So if anybody out there's got Victorian dumps, keep them.
Yeah, actually I think it's some of the charm, you know, with the way they look, all battered up.
All battered, yeah.
Yeah.
And they're used as door stops and things like that, yeah. That's the only thing I don't do, because that's really quite, they're quite terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, people who are listening who might be in another country, I think people know that Scottish art glass workers are like the best in the world.
Oh, thank you.
So I would actually say that you're probably the best glass cutter in the world in terms of paperweights.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that it's such a high standard. You've come from the background of like the really high standard of the Perthshire, and then you've worked on it for all these years and perfected your techniques and perfected the stuff that you use to do the job. You know, and all of that. So it is a really great thing, isn't it?
Thank you. I'm not very good at taking
taking compliments. Well, that's one of the reasons I wanted to chat to you. And then I thought, well, we're probably coming to the end of our chat anyway now, but like, what have you got? Anything that you think people might want to know, or something that is like, I don't know, maybe your knowledge or your experience, or anything that you want to say that people might be interested to hear?
What I would say, if you're out and about and you see a weight that's really badly damaged and you think, oh, nothing can be done, buy it, because you'll get it really cheap. And as I say, I've done this now for 20 years since the firm closed, and I've not lost one yet, and I've managed to repair some horrors. What I would say is, if you're not sure there's enough glass in a piece, get a basin of water, put the weight in the water, and it reduces the reflection of the dome, and you'll see how much glass you've got round about. There's more than you think. And I mean, I remember one piece, I would say quarter of the dome was missing. It's quite a high dome. The chap didn't want it faceted, and I managed to redome it. Yes, it was reduced, but it was reduced to a perfect weight. And people say to me, oh, that weight's a different, they'll say a PP1. They'll say, oh look, but they're different sizes. They're different sizes because different people made them. Each blower has his own style. Now at Perthshire, we could see all the weights on the table, and there'd be slight differences. Like one guy would make a high dome, one guy would make a low dome. So you could tell who had made it. So you do get differences. But don't be afraid to buy stuff. And as I say, please, please, please be careful who you send it to restore. Because as I said in my talk, there's a lot of people that have damaged a lot of weights out there. But I'm working now for people in Australia, New Zealand, Spain, Germany, and there's nobody doing this. The chap in Australia, thanks to you, Don, sent me the piece, and he says there's nobody doing this out here. So he sent it to me. It took a while to come, it took a while to go back, but he was totally happy with it. And I believe somebody else is sending me something from New Zealand in the next few weeks. So it's quite exciting to think they've travelled all that way back.
Yeah, I can link that video actually to this video where it shows the restoration of the cliche weight of mine that you did.
Oh, brilliant!
And it was amazing. So we can link it to this one anyway if anybody's interested in looking at the what it looked like before and what it looked like after. One thing that just popped into my head to ask you was, would you facet a weight that's not supposed to be? Like, say for instance, I got myself anything at all, and I said, right, well, I want you to do some crazy cutting on this one. Would there be any time that you'd refuse?
No. If somebody, what I say to somebody, you look at a weight, and if you're happy with it the way it is, or if you want it faceted, I'll facet it for you. Some people have sent me some antique weights, and they've been badly damaged, and there's really, you would have to go so deep to get the damage out. But what I've got is I've got the stones and wheels to do the antique faceting. And as I said, I think I said to somebody the other week, when I was restoring a weight, well, it was actually the chap that was training me. I restored this weight, and he went, the one thing wrong, it's too accurate. Because some of the antique weights, the facets are off, so you're trying to keep it to its original, and I find it very hard to do it unaccurate. So you've got to think about that. But yes, if someone wants something cut and it's their weight, it's not for me to say I'm not doing it.
I'd be really interested to see what you could do. I could go through my collection and just like pick out a few weights and send them your way and go on, just do something with those and see what happens.
That's fine, I've often thought that because of the cost of gas now, a lot of people aren't producing a lot of stuff, so I'm not getting my hands on a lot of new stuff. But I like a blank canvas, and if I get a free hand, you would just have to say anything you don't like. You know, if there's anything you don't like flutes or round facets, or see, John doesn't like, he calls it egg facets. Perthshire used to do egg facets.
Oh yeah.
I feel you get a better reflection. Sorry, John. You get a better reflection that way. But John likes the old style facet, the round facets, and it works beautifully as well. But personally, for me, I like the egg facets. But I could do both.
So, well, it's been really good having a chat and listening to some of the stuff that you're doing, and I think it's really good to tell people about it and to have this information out there, because it's nice to encourage everybody in their collecting and in the way that people appreciate art glass, because otherwise it'll kind of die out, and we don't want that, do we?
We don't want that. No, it's a big huge part of my life, and I would say it's got to an obsession now. Some folk they're obsessed with wine or drugs or things like that. Mine's is glass, and it's totally it consumes my life, and I don't mind that.
And thankfully there are some younger people. Like, I mean, Craig is younger than me. I've met him today, and I'm like, Do you know what I mean? And it's great though, because then that means that there's people who are bringing new stuff. Even meeting William today, William Manson, and all the new stuff he's doing. You know, there's like lots of new stuff.
That's what we like. We like seeing people coming on and new photos. What gives me encouragement as well, you said your daughter, she's liking it now, so there's another, because people do get old and they do pass away, and you know.
My daughter's into art, so you never know where that might go.
You never know where that might go. Well, if she's wanting a quick lesson, I'll show. It's quite good. It is a good trade, and I love it, and I'm glad I did it. Now it was tough at times, but because glass cutting is not a spectator sport like glass blowing. You can see it happening in front of you with the glass blowing, the glass glowing, cooling down, things like that. Glass cutting, you know, you'll see me cut a star or something like that, but say the gingham weight, that takes such a long time, and some of you would have to stand beside me for hours watching this take place. So it is quite, and the trouble is, there wasn't many people finished their apprenticeship in the grinding side. I can think of 3 out all the time. A lot of them gave up because in the beginning it's really boring.
It must take a lot of patience.
Yeah, it does. You've got to be patient, because trying to get some of the cuts right, it's quite hard to begin with. Like, you'll see the grid cut I do, really, the strawberry cut, or some people call it hobnailing. To learn that took me ages. You've got to alter your braiding and everything to do that. And because if you're cutting on a concave base and you're going down like this, what will happen is, unconsciously, you'll start to fan out. So you're turning the way, as you're advancing that way, you're actually turning it so it'll fan out. You don't want that, you want it to go straight. And that took hours of practice to get that right.
You'll have to send me a couple of pictures of those, because I don't think I've got any pictures, so it'd be good to see what they look like.
I think I've got one in my case.
So
that'll be good.
Brilliant. Thanks for talking
today.
That's
okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Been good.
Thank you.